Okay, this one is with a calculator. So make sure that you know how to find the intersection points after typing in these two functions, because you need to find this intersection point right here. If you look at the way the AP exam writes the answers, it indicates that this intersection point is some capital A, capital B, and nowhere in the problem is it using capital A or B. And then it tells you what A is equal to and what B is equal to. Now, what you need is what A is equal to. So with a calculator, let me see, that's 2015. Let me, running with two of these. I'm just going to look up the answer to not waste time. For A, you should be getting 1.032832. If you don't know how to do that with a calculator, you've got to come by during my office hours and I can help you with your calculator as long as it's a TI-84. Other calculators, I will do what I can. Okay. Make sure that you save that in your calculator under a particular letter. And the easiest way to do that is after you find intersection, just second quit. And then you have your store button, STO, store button. And then decide what you're going to hold it under. Okay, now they want you to find the sum of the areas of the regions. You have to write an integral without using absolute value, and they need to see that you properly know the subtraction order. So when you are integrating from 0 to number A, you need to look at what is the top function and then minus the bottom function. And you can use the letters that they are giving you. So during that time, the top one is G. So you can actually use the letters that they give you instead of writing the entire function. And let me tell you, looking at these, I would implore you to not write those out on paper in your integral. Name them in your integral. You're going to type it in one place in your calculator and double check that it's correct. I'm especially looking at this right here. Make sure that that's in a full parentheses as an exponent on that E. Double check that you have typed it in correctly, maybe triple check before you get started. It's worth it to check. So that will give you the area of region R. Then add to that from number A to number 2 and show that you understand that this time f of x is the top, g of x is the bottom. I forgot my dx, silly me. You can just squeeze that in when you realize you've forgotten it. From what I've been told in the past, they usually don't take off points if you forget your differential, but that doesn't mean they won't in the future. And they may have done it by now, and I just am not aware of that. So don't get too freaked out about it, but try to remember your differential. Now, at this point, because you have a calculator, you're just going to type this whole thing in and spit out an answer. You do not need to write down separate numbers for these two. So if you wanted to, in your calculator, you could actually integrate the absolute value from 0 to 2, and it'll give you the same answer. So it's up to you how you want to put that in. The answer your calculator should be giving you is 2.004. And again, if you need help with your calculator, make sure you stop and see me or find someone to get help or watch YouTube videos on how to use the calculator. All right, that's letter A. You're done. Letter B. Region S is the base of a solid. So make sure to emphasize to yourself who you're currently working with. I've seen people accidentally use another region as they're in the throes of the stress of testing. Cross sections are perpendicular to the x-axis. So this would be the direction of perpendicular to the x-axis. That means that the dimension that we don't see, this is a vertical dimension. The horizontal dimension is the teensy tiny little cut that takes it into volume. So it's a dx integral. And you always need an area formula times dx to create your volume. And you are told that the cross sections are squares. Area formula of a square is length of side squared. And the numbers of x are number A to number 2. Then all you need to do is type in that this is f of x minus g of x. And by the way, because this is squared, technically you can have your subtraction order the other way around, and it's perfectly fine. Could you write ABS instead of finding A? By finding A, you mean this capital A. Or not just on calculator. No, for the AP test, they want to see that you understand how to properly set up an integral that, why do you use it? The reason we use A is because that's the x coordinate and we're in a dx integral. And so that means I need to know the x coordinates where it's existing. But you have to know that the AP test expects you to write the integral in a proper way without absolute value. What you do in your calculator is your own business, basically. But what you write down on that paper has to be the correct setup for if you were able to solve that integral on your own, basically. If the integrand was something nice and solvable. So then let's see, all you're going to do is throw that in your calculator. Let me see what the n. Could we use x and y instead of a and b? Actually, I would advise not using x and y, even though it's capitalized. There's too much with lowercase x and y. I would avoid using those letters at all. We have 5 minutes left of class. So, pick the letters you like. Just make sure you aren't using letters that are already in there. And the fact that you have X and Y axis, I would just avoid confusion and not try to use capital versions of them. Let me see what the answer is. I keep using the wrong mouse. You should be getting 1.283. 1.283. So all you have to do is state the integral with the proper limits and then the answer, and that's it. Now in part C, H is the vertical distance between the graphs of F and G in region S. So H, with respect to X, is the F minus G together. You have to tell them, I understand this is the H function. Now, They want you to find the rate at which h changes with respect to x when x is 1.8. You're going to use your calculator to find the final answer, but you have to tell them what math you are doing. You have to tell them, first of all, I'm finding the derivative of h, and I know that when I have subtraction, I get to separately differentiate the functions, and then express that when x is 1.8, I am plugging 1.8 into f prime, I am plugging 1.8 into g prime, and then from there you can just write the numerical answer that your calculator gives. And make sure you know how to do derivative. If you're looking at the graph in your graphing calculator, push second and the F4 button and you'll see DDX. You can also do it from the home menu. From the home menu, you do it by starting with the button math and the number 9. Nope, wait, sorry, 8. 9 is the integral. 8 is the derivative from the home menu under the math button. And then let's look at the answers at this point and show you what they are worth. It's one of these in here, I'm pretty sure. Nope. Nope. There it is. Okay. Believe it or not, that showing that you can do area was worth 4 points out of 9 on one of 6 free response problems that makes up half of your exam. 1 point was for the limits. And basically, if you messed up on your limits in part A, but then used whatever you found for A to 2 for part B, you're considered correct in part B on those numbers. The integrands together were worth 2 points. That includes correct subtraction order going with the particular intervals of x. And then finally, 1 point for the answer. You're not eligible for the answer point if you mess up in any of the points before. Then in part B, you're back to being eligible for the answer point as long as you're using the same numbers or the correct numbers for the limit. And 2 points for that integrand. That's literally just looking at this f minus g squared. 2 points. 1 point for the answer. And then for part C, so they want to see that you understand h prime is equal to f prime minus g prime, and then correctly get an answer out of it. And our time is just about up.